You know what's exhausting? Being told that surviving difficult years left you damaged. Maybe not in those exact words, but in the way people talk about trauma like it's a debt you still owe, a weakness you still carry. That the alertness you feel in your chest is paranoia. That the depth you see in people is just scar tissue pretending to be wisdom. But what if the opposite is true? What if your nervous system didn't break? What if it graduated? You walk into a room and know the temperature before anyone speaks. Not because you're psychic, because you had to be certain early on that you could read the weather in a space before it turned on you. Psychologists call this heightened threat detection. And research from the University of Washington shows that children who grow up in unpredictable environments develop amygdala responses that fire faster than average. Your brain learned to scan for micro-expressions, the slight tightening of a jaw, the shift in posture that happens half a second before the mood changes. You pick up on tension that others miss entirely. That's not anxiety. That's pattern recognition carved into your hardware. You notice because you had to notice. The skill kept you safe then, and it reads rooms for you now, even when you wish it would stop. Now, here is the uncomfortable truth that gets left out of the inspirational stories. You are tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Your nervous system learned that vigilance equals survival, so it never fully powers down. The same sensitivity that lets you read a room also means you can't turn off the reading. You wake up at 3 a.m. processing conversations from 3 years ago, not because you're broken, but because your brain is still scanning for threats that have already passed. That's not a character flaw. That's the interest on the loan your survival took out, and it's expensive. But this perceptiveness extends beyond threat. You feel other people's emotions in your body before they name them. Someone near you is struggling, and your stomach drops before they've said a word. Psychologists refer to this as hyperempathy, common in people who had to track the emotional states of caregivers just to maintain basic safety. You learned to feel others because your environment required it. Here's what nobody tells you about that sensitivity. When things actually fall apart, you don't freeze. You move. Research on stress inoculation by psychologists at the University of Chicago found that people exposed to early adversity often show stronger executive function under pressure. Your system was calibrated in chaos. Others panic. You adapt. Order feels strange, but crisis feels like home. And here's the reversal that changes everything. The people who call you too sensitive or say you think too much are simply people whose safety never depended on noticing everything. They had the luxury of missing details. You didn't. Your intelligence was forged in necessity. Theirs was optional. You replay conversations for days. You analyze why people do what they do with a focus that looks obsessive from the outside. But you aren't stuck. You're running simulations. You became an anthropologist of your own family, cataloging triggers, mapping moods, predicting explosions before they happened. This depth of analysis isn't voluntary. It's the result of a childhood where unpredictability was the only predictable thing. Psychologists call this mental simulation, and while it can exhaust you, it also means you understand human complexity at a level most people never access. You see the subtext. You hear the silence between words. Your threshold for trust is higher than most. Cognitive psychologists call this Adaptive skepticism. Your brain learned early that not all signals of safety were genuine, so it built filters. Those filters mean you don't connect easily, but when you do, the connection runs deep and real. Similarly, you feel music differently. Injustice hits you physically. A kind gesture from a stranger can move you to tears. It isn't drama. It's a nervous system sensitized by early activation. The amygdala processes emotional experience at a higher amplitude. You don't just observe the world, you feel it at a frequency most people don't have access to. Sometimes that's overwhelming. Sometimes it's beautiful. Usually it's both. You don't wait for rescue. You build solutions independently and quietly. When your childhood environment wasn't reliably supportive, your brain internalized resourcefulness. Dependence felt risky, so competence became your default. People are often surprised by your self-sufficiency, but it makes complete sense developmentally. You learned that stillness wasn't always safe, so you stay busy. Slowing down can feel uncomfortable, almost unsafe. When things are quiet, the mind wanders inward, and not always gently. Learning to rest is itself a kind of reclaiming. It's telling your brain that the threat has passed, even when your body doesn't believe it yet. Finally, you carry a quiet but unshakable sense of meaning. You don't move through life casually. You've looked closely at pain, both your own and others, and something in you refused to let it be meaningless. Research by Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun on post-traumatic growth suggests that people who navigate adversity often emerge with deeper philosophical clarity about what matters and why. You are, in many ways, someone who learned wisdom earlier than most. The intelligence you carry isn't theoretical, it's embodied. It's the architecture of a mind that had to grow quickly, and did. You don't take things for granted because you know how quickly they can be taken. You aren't damaged goods functioning at half capacity. You are a system that adapted to conditions most people never faced and kept its humanity intact. That is the rarest form of intelligence, grown from soil most people never have to touch. What's the first thing you notice when you walk into a room? Drop one word in the comments. If this felt like someone finally saw the mechanism, subscribe. Next time, why your need for control is actually a form of self-protection, and how to loosen the grip without falling apart.